Hey everyone, this is going to be a quick, fun, easy little informal video where I respond to some of the comments left on some of my recent videos. I didn't go all the way back to the beginning of my channel, this is just the most recent handful of videos because some people have dropped some good bits of insight. So why am I doing this? Well, I don't want the whole channel to just be about me. I don't want to be the focus of this. I like talking about things that I like and sharing it with other people who like the same stuff. And I don't know everything. I sometimes get things wrong. And that's where you guys come in. A lot of people leave comments that are really insightful, share different perspectives that I didn't consider before, and just have little bits of trivia that I've just never even heard of. I think you'll enjoy this. Let's get into it. First comment of the evening comes from a channel called John Collins is a Wizard. And it says, Joe Pantoliano plays Cypher in The Matrix and Ralph Cifaretto in The Sopranos. Cifaretto comes from the Italian word cifare, meaning cipher. Not enough people are talking about this. This one blew my mind. I'm a huge fan of The Sopranos, huge fan of The Matrix. How did I not know this? This never occurred to me. This is great. He's right. More people should be talking about this. I just love the fact that they named Ralphie's character after his character in The Matrix, like a little homage or a little in-joke to that character Cypher. And I brought this up in my season 3 Random Thoughts video, how it's funny how Joe Pantoliano Cypher is on the cover of that, no one notices. I think this just ties into the whole joke. So this makes me wonder if that actor got hired to play a scumbag on The Sopranos because he was a scumbag traitor in the Matrix movies. Who knows? Maybe. Probably. I don't know. Next comment. This one comes from The Rock's Roost. He says, when the Ricardo Montalban Chrysler commercial was on TV, it was beyond huge. What made it so famous was the line, fine Corinthian leather. Here in the South, it's still a phrase used when you want to jokingly play up the quality of something. It's hard to appreciate if you didn't witness it firsthand, but from an age when most people only had 3 or 4 TV channels to watch, commercials played a bigger role in American culture. Another great example is the common catchphrase, sorry Charlie, that came from a Starkist tuna commercial. I just like the different perspective that this comment offers. I'm guessing the guy who wrote this is old enough to have seen that fine Corinthian leather commercial when it actually aired.
Available even in fine Corinthian leather. So very luxurious, yet surprisingly affordable.
Same for the Starkist commercial that he mentions.
Say? Sorry, Charlie. Only good-tasting tuna get to be Starkist.
I know fine Corinthian leather because of The Sopranos, and I Googled it, and I read Wikipedia, but this guy knows it firsthand, and he probably heard people around town referencing it, so that joke, that phrase stays with him way longer than it has stayed with me so far. I just think it's really interesting how different pieces of media, like a commercial, will stick with different generations differently. This also kind of reminds me of that line from The Matrix when Tank says,
Hey Mikey, I think he likes it.
He likes it! Hey Mikey!
I'm sure there were a whole bunch of people who immediately got that without having to have it explained. And on that same note, people of my generation, my approximate age group, probably remember these commercials by heart more than subsequent and previous generations. Remember these?
I went on the internet and found education connection.
I'll call today.
You call now.
I'll call now.
Who are you texting 50 times a day?
IDK, my BFF gel.
Head on. Apply directly to the forehead. Head on. Apply directly to the forehead.
Comment number 3 from the night comes from my Sopranos Random Thoughts for Season 3 video, and he's referring to the big mouth Billy Bass fish that I mentioned in that video. This comment comes from Isaivan6754. I like how the fish was just saying random stuff the other times we hear it, but when it's from Meadow, it calls directly to how he killed Pussy and dumped him in the water. And it's the only one he can't throw away or lash against. So I think the first time we see the big mouth Billy Bass in that season, it's with Christopher and Paulie in the car, and it's singing nothing fish or water related, it's just singing the YMCA song. I don't remember it in real life singing the YMCA song, so maybe they just made that for the show. It was always singing stuff about fishing and water and rivers and stuff like that. You know, it's dead fish, that's the joke. The guys presented it as a gift to Tony at the Bing, and Tony says, throw that thing the hell out. I don't want to see it because, you know, it reminds him of how he murdered his best friend last season and dumped him in the water. He wants to kind of forget that. However, later around Christmas, when his own daughter gifts this to him, it's not singing the generic YMCA song. It's singing, take me to the river, drop me in the water. This is even more specific about that memory Tony's trying to forget. But I think it's funny that the one big mouth Billy Bass fish that haunts him the most is the one that he has to hang on to for the longest. Great comment. Comment number 4 is actually not a YouTube comment, but it's a text message a friend sent me relating to my Sopranos Season 3 Random Thoughts video, and this is specifically about that poster on Meadows' dorm room wall that I couldn't figure out any information on, that just said M5. Like, I've never heard of this band. He found that this was actually an artist called Marilyn D'Amato. He found her on Spotify. She's only got one album on there. It isn't the M5 album, like the artwork for it isn't the same as on the show. I gave it a listen, and it's not bad. It's very, very 90s. Very 90s. So if you want a good little 90s indie rock kind of pop rock throwback, go check it out. I mean, it's not bad. This next comment comes from my Anatomy of a Scene video where I talk about the You Gotta Be on Your Hat scene. This comes from Othmastalsley. I really liked part 2 of his comment where he says, probably just coincidence, but when you flip between the opening and closing shots, you really see how dark it got. Unsure if it was just clouds or if they actually applied color grading, but there's the very obvious symbolism of Kennedy having a grand old time in the sun until some dark forces come in and ruin his day, and now that sunny day is gone. In addition to what I was pointing out about the scene's blocking and comparing how Dr. Candy looked at the beginning of the scene versus the end, I was mostly talking about where he was positioned, starting at the top of the hill, ending at the bottom, with his feet in the water. But this commenter says, just look at the overall lighting and shadows and color grading in the shot, comparing the first and last shots in this scene. First shot of this scene, Dr. Candy is golfing in a nice, bright, sunny day. He's having a great time. And then after these dark forces come into his life and threaten him and belittle him, the last shot in this scene, it's stormy, it's dark, it's a lot darker and desaturated, there's less colors. It's like these dark forces came into his life, like a big storm came in and left. I love that. You know, maybe they did that on purpose. Maybe HBO controlled the weather back then to help with the mise en scène. Also from the same video, Anatomy of a Scene, I get this commenter who says, what's that lump between your eyebrows that only shows up when you wrinkle your forehead? So I believe he's referring to that to that little thing right there. And you know, if anyone's been curious, it's just a very small tattoo of a potato. That's what it is. Next comment comes from Aviel Reyes, and he says, the finale of season 2 was a much better send-off for Livia, even if it's unintentional. The last interaction she has with Tony, she's laughing at him, making him feel small and highlighting her true nature. Their relationship is fully encapsulated in that moment, and it hits harder if they don't ever interact again. As you may know, I'm not the biggest fan of the questionable production choices made for that scene after Nancy Marchand passed away and they took Livia Soprano's head and superimposed her on another actress's body, but I do think this guy has a great point here. The last time before this that we saw her in season 2 also really summed up her character. Tony, the big scary mob boss, tripped leaving her house, and his mom started laughing at him instead of offering to help or showing concern, etc. Says all you really need to know about her character right there. They probably didn't have to go through all the effort to you know, whatever this is, just to get one more scene with her. The next comment comes from the same video and has 2 parts. The first part is something that a number of other people have mentioned, so I think it deserves a little highlight here. This comes from Dominicus9891. A lot of people are correctly talking about how this would have been a lot less noticeable on a 480 interlaced broadcast television, but not many people remember that HBO actually had an HD channel for very few Americans with HD TVs in 2002, meaning said people were likely as spooked as they were today. So I think this guy and everyone else who commented something similar has a really great point here. So how I've been watching The Sopranos 99% of the time, and how I'm sure most of you are watching The Sopranos, is probably through the HBO streaming app on your smart TVs. And you can call up all the seasons in order or out of order, any episode you want, in beautiful quality. We can nitpick frame by frame. TVs used to be a lot smaller and lower quality than they are now. Not everyone was able to nitpick the show frame by frame in HD like we can nowadays. While The Sopranos is still relevant, it is an old show depending on how you want to define that. Someone watching this once, for the first time, on a lower quality TV, would probably not notice anything for that scene. Maybe only like people in the production world or editors who do this type of stuff would notice, but you know, the average person, it looks good enough. I've seen worse effects The second part of his comment says, this shot also reminds me of the scene in Titanic where Jack and Rose are running against the rush of water down a hallway. It's stunt doubles with their faces swapped with Kate and Leo's. It has almost the same kind of uncanny valley effect where it's not obviously wrong, but it's better not to pay too close attention to it or you'll get taken out of the scene. So I've seen Titanic before. I don't know it that well. It's not like my favorite movie or anything. But let's see if I can find the shot he's talking about. And yes, I did just download the entire Titanic movie just so I can present this to you guys in the best possible quality. So yeah, you get quality stuff on Couch Bum Kino, all right? I think it's this scene. It looks kind of weird. It looks good. I think it looks better than the Olivia Soprano scene, definitely. Because, that she was just sitting in a room in a chair. It's a lot easier to nitpick that. This, they're running and there's flashing lights. And if it's not this scene, does anyone actually know what scene it is? Because I'd really like to know at this point. Next comment comes from my Sopranos infamous freeze frame edit from the Cold Cuts episode. And this comes from B-Town. And he says, I'm a writer by trade, not an editor. I've always assumed that the awkward cut was a fix for lacking coverage. The entire point of the scene is her conflicted expression upon exiting. I bet the scene played too quick and unreadable in the first assembly. Without a close-up, they manufactured the moment, so the overall story played clearly, just speculating. In a lot of my videos, especially the ones where I talk about strange editing, I'm approaching them from an editor's perspective because, well, that's what I do for my day job. I'm a professional video editor. So I'm just looking at the visuals, but this guy is approaching this from a writing standpoint. And I think he and the others who have mentioned this have valid points. The point of the scene was to show the conflict within Carmela after deciding to get back with Tony. So maybe he's right. What if for whatever reason they didn't have the proper close-up shot of the conflict in Carmela's face to let the audience linger and take in the emotion as she's walking away from this guy? I get that. You got to find some way to convey that in the scene because that's the point of the scene. I got it. They found a workaround and it's, no, I can't let this one go. From a writing perspective, yes, he has a point, a very valid point. From an editing perspective, though, I don't think anything can excuse this for me. This last one for the night also comes from my Cold Cuts freeze frame edit video, and at the end of that video, I mentioned that I was going to try and reach out to some of the unnamed assistant editors who worked on that episode. So I found a few of them. No one wrote back. Whatever, it happens. However, I did get a comment on that video from apparently the son of one of those editors, and he said that when his dad first saw the episode air, he was as confused as the rest of us. So he called up his editing boss, Sydney Walensky, and asked what the hell just happened. And to which Sydney responded, he also had no idea. Apparently the people working on it didn't even know. So what was like David Chase sneaking in after hours and just pushing buttons behind everyone's back? I don't know. So then I followed up and asked if this guy's dad wanted to do a Zoom interview, but I haven't heard back. Maybe he'll never respond. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, if he doesn't, this is just a funny way to end the story for me. The fact that even the people who worked on the show don't know why it's there. Oh, I love that. Well, that's about all I've got for tonight. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you very much. I appreciate it as always. And like the whole point of this video, I also really do appreciate all the comments you guys leave. Some people leave really insightful comments, some bits of trivia I never knew, some insights, perspectives I never would have considered on my own. So again, thank you for everyone who watches and interacts, leaves comments, because some of you people have great information. And if you do, please share it. I really like reading this stuff. And if they're good enough, hell, I might make another one of these in the future. So that's all I've got for tonight. Till next time. Goodbye.